Immigration is a hot topic in today's news, so it makes sense that in the past year, it's become ripe fodder for the horror genre to delve into. These two films tackle the loneliness, the stress, and the sheer terror of being out of your element in an uncaring world. This is M.L. Miller Frights' Best in Horror Countdown 2020-2021. Number 26. Number 26 is No One Gets Out Alive, released September 29th, 2021, and available streaming on Netflix. It's directed by Santiago Menghini and written by John Croker, Fernanda Coppel, from a novel by Adam Nevill. Christina Rodlow plays Ambar, an illegal immigrant who finds herself in Cleveland, Ohio after being dropped off by a coyote. She's barely making ends meet with her job in a sweatshop and is holding away enough money to get a fake ID so that she can get a better job. When things begin to get desperate and she can no longer stay at the hotel she's been living in, Ambar finds a halfway house of sorts owned by Red, played by the outsider in Ozark's Mark Menchaca. With his strange brother Becker, played by David Figlioli, Red invites illegal immigrants in, promising cheap rent, but fails to mention the stone box that resides in the basement. In this stone box is a nightmare procured from an ancient civilization, hungry for bodies and souls. No One Gets Out Alive is a hodgepodge style of film that incorporates the grindhousey elements of A Dangerous Family with topical issues such as immigration and even Lovecraftian monstrosities. But don't worry, it's not a preachy story about the virtues of those who come into this country illegally, nor is it some highfalutin tale of American pride. Ambar makes huge mistakes. She's a flawed character who has held back from succeeding due to her dedication to her family. But she's naive and overly willing to trust a world that is working against her. She can't seem to catch a break. But instead of heaping on the troubles like you're going down a list of headline topics, this spiral Ambar is swirling down progresses logically, cruelly, but meticulously, and most importantly, in a way that presses the story forward. Every hurdle Ambar faces is a product of her own design, and thankfully, the film doesn't really take a stance for or against the immigration issue. Instead, it just shows the horror Ambar encounters, and she encounters horrors aplenty. What I love about No One Gets Out Alive is that it is an unexpectedly layered film. There are all kinds of monsters, human and supernatural, that Ambar encounters. Mark Menchaca truly is an awesome actor and does a fantastic job of making Red a complex character, conflicted with the horrors he houses, but dedicated to it through familial bonds. David Figlioli is equally menacing as Becker, a terrifying man-mountain that cannot be stopped. Then there are the ghosts that haunt the halls of the house. There's a scene where Ambar encounters a ghost that involves a disembodied voice, some footsteps, and some well-placed shadows that is scarier than any Blumhouse jump scare stinker you're bound to see in this and any year. Finally, there's the indescribable monster in the box. I won't post a pic here, but this thing is the stuff of the most pants-shitting nightmares, with arms and legs where they shouldn't be, along with a mouth and faces all mixed up and crazy. It's part bug, part beast from last year's creature feature, The Ritual, but still all original. The climax where we finally see the monster doesn't disappoint. No One Gets Out Alive is a thematic relative of Greg Oliver's 2012 film Devoured, another story about an immigrant being swallowed alive by human and otherworldly horrors. Both films paint the picture of the difficulties immigrants face coming to America and represents those horrors in the most terrifying of ways. No One Gets Out Alive is a heinous thrill ride where every plot twist leads to more danger, culminating in a climax that is absolutely breathtaking. Today's bonus review is His House, released October 20th, 2020. It's also available streaming exclusively on Netflix. It's directed by Remi Weeks and written by Felicity Evans, Tony Venables, and Remi Weeks. Bull, played by Sophie Dirisu, and Rial Majur, played by Lovecraft Country's Wunmi Mosaku, are refugees from South Sudan arriving in London and hoping to begin a new life. They've been supplied a house and a weekly wage from the government and are given temporary asylum to the country that will be under much scrutiny until they are eligible for citizenship at an unspecified amount of time. Almost immediately, when Bol and Rial move in, things just don't seem right. The house is in much disarray, but even beyond that, when ghostly apparitions begin appearing, Rial believes they are being haunted by a witch that has followed them from South Sudan. Bol is not so sure, and while he sees the haunts, he doesn't want to accept that they are the cause of it. But they better figure it out soon, because they're being checked on by government workers who will send them back to their war-torn homeland if they prove to be not assimilating well. Luckily, they're assigned Doctor Who's Matt Smith, who shows up in a bit part as a government agent with a soft spot for the couple. His house does a fantastic job of setting up a two-tiered assault on the Messieurs right from the beginning. While they're being given a chance by the English government, their chances of success are very narrow, as they are living in rough conditions, given a very little in terms of an education about the environment they have been dropped into, and are to follow the strictest of guidelines, lest they be deported. On top of that, ghostly and decayed beings are slothing around in the dark corners and holes in the walls at home, telling them to leave the only sanctuary they have. Bol and Rial are caught between a rock and a hard place, thus making this a very compelling problem challenging them. This provides a myriad of threats for the couple to face, be it in the neighborhood, which is less than willing to accept them, or the monsters in the walls threatening to devour them. Director Remi Weeks does a great job of setting up some spectacular fright sequences that rival the well-orchestrated frights seen in James Wan's films and their Blumhouse Brood. On top of that, Weeks does a marvelous job of making the world outside of the apartment look and feel like a threatening and alien landscape, as Bol and Rial attempt to get the lay of the land and understand where they are. There's a scene where Rial leaves the home for the first time that is as tense and terrifying as the darkest of ghoul coming-at-ya scenes you can think of, though there are plenty of those in his house as well. Sope Dirisu and Wunmi Musaku are two fabulous actors, giving a lot of heart and soul to get behind as the Messieurs. Musaku was one of the most compelling actresses in Lovecraft Country. Here she gives an equally compelling performance as a woman familiar with her ancestry and its roots in the supernatural, but not afraid of it. Musaku gives a strong performance of someone attempting to maintain her heritage despite insurmountable odds to leave it behind. Sope Dirisu gives an equally strong performance and provides the flip side to Rial's reaction. As Bol, he is eager to assimilate into the culture, wanting to fit in and forget about the hardship of his homeland. Seeing these two very different attitudes towards their new situation converge and bash into one another provides an emotional and cultural heft that elevates this film above typical haunted house flicks. The scares are many and potent in his house. The design of the little girl who haunts the Messieurs in their home is truly terrifying, as are the scores of ghoulies she brings with her. Horror's go-to lanky man, Javier Botet, provides his creepy presence as the witch in the climax, but I felt the strongest scares occurred in the earlier moments of the film. The meaning behind the haunt and their emotional impact hits hard in his house. When everything falls into place, it's late in the film, and I think that's a smart move because had we known about these certain details of the Messieurs' escape from South Sudan, they might not have been so easy to like in the beginning. But Weeks reveals these details late in the game, and by that time the investment is there, and it's hard not to pull for the couple to survive this impossible ordeal. This is a haunting tale with a compelling conflict supported by two super strong performances. His house loses steam during the climax. It might have been because of the revelation that surfaces in the last act, or because there simply was too much going on at once. I did find the resolution to be satisfying, providing no easy answers, but still addressing some of the issues that inundated the Messieurs from the beginning. His house is a bit top-heavy, as it seems to pack a lot of effective scares and a winning conflict in the beginning, and might weaken in the latter portions, but still works most of the way through and depicts a relevant struggle that most of the world knows very little about. Good on this film for shining some light on that. Come back tomorrow for the next installment to the Best in Horror Countdown 2021. If you hit all the pertinent bells and whistles down below, you're sure never to miss it. See you then.
You're doomed to live the life meant to be. Stuck inside your reality. You're doomed. Oh, you're doomed. You're doomed. God live the life that you are meant to be. Live inside